schools should plan to phase in reopenings before returning to full activity. The American Academy of Pediatrics issued new guidance suggesting the possibility of reduced school hours when in-person classes resume. The group said until a vaccine or treatment for medication for coronavirus is widely available, schools need to plan for future shutdowns. Schools also need to prepare for distance learning. At least 46 states and Washington, D.C. have closed schools through the end of the current school year. In Prince George's County, Maryland, a venue known for sporting events and kids' birthday parties is now a COVID morgue.
It's a sign of the times we're living in, and I do think the state is trying its very best, and this is the right thing to bring more dignity to this very, very unfortunate situation.
County Delegate Mary Lehman says the bodies are elevated off the ice and covered in Maryland flags, while some of them await identification and arrangements. New York City subway system is back open this morning after the first overnight deep cleaning and disinfecting to stop the spread of COVID-19. Officials are calling it the most thorough deep cleaning of the New York subway system that's ever been attempted. The trains and all 472 subway stations shut down from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern, and they'll do so through the pandemic. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Tonight, rain is 60% likely, cloudy and 37. Thursday's weather, a chance of some showers, mainly between noon and 5, partly sunny with a high of 61. Friday, partly sunny and 58. Saturday, a 30% chance of rain and snow showers in the morning, then a chance of rain showers, and partly sunny skies and 47. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 53. Monday, partly sunny and 61. And next Tuesday, partly sunny and 58. 2 central Massachusetts golf courses are planning to defy Governor Charlie Baker's ban on non-essential businesses and open. The owner of the Kettlebrook Golf Club in Paxton and Wachusett Country Club in West Boylston plan to open this week. Massachusetts is one of 4 states in the country that have banned golf, and the others were New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maryland.
ON Radio, ON Worldwide.
Joe Nato writes on the front page of today's Woonsocket Call from Woonsocket. In a major new development for St. Charles Borromeo Parish, the Roman Catholic Diocese of Providence has rescinded its suppression or dissolution of the historic city congregation in Woonsocket.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question to the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email at joe@onesocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel on ON 1240, WOON Woonsocket Radio.
Yes, good morning to you. It's time for Coffee Ann on ON AM and FM, 1240 AM, 99.5 FM. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name's Joe Callahan, and joining us at the Coffee Ann virtual table, we'll say good morning to John Ward. Good morning, John. I don't hear John.
Silent.
All right.
Oh, you said virtual table. I thought you were going to somebody else. He's really at the table.
At the table is John Ward. Hi, John.
There he is.
Still not there.
I'll turn his headphones louder.
Now I'm here.
There he is.
I'm not me.
That man you hear laughing in the background is Tim Draper. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Joe and John and Dave and the whole crew.
And Melissa Smith, are you joining us as well?
No, she's not. You didn't check your email.
No, I did not.
She called me about 15 minutes ago. She said she had an emergency pop-up meeting at 8 o'clock and she cannot be with us, although she's going to miss talking to Tim.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll try to move on without her.
Sorry about that, John.
I'm used to it.
He sounds just like he does on Zoom, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yes.
All right, this first segment sponsorship of Coffee Inn is by the St. Antoine community of North Smithfield. Now, I asked Dave to stick on because I was talking with Dave earlier today, and I said, I saw something online, Dave, that looks like there's going to be some sort of flyover in the state of Massachusetts today, and I got more information on that. Yes, some F-15 from the Massachusetts National Guard are doing a flyover on the state today. It's all to salute the hospital workers on the front lines against the coronavirus. So this unit is based.
Are we not good enough for the Blue Angels?
It's funny. Well, these are not the Blue Angels, and the Blue Angels did their thing last week. The Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds. So we're a week late here in Massachusetts, but that's the way it goes. And so they're doing the flyover today to salute the hospital workers, and it looks like they're starting somewhere here around where I am, and we in Mansfield, and we do have an airport here, so it's possible they're taking off from here around noon, and they're flying up to Boston, and they plan to reach Boston by 12:15. Then they're going to take a left and fly west over the state, get to Worcester about 12:25, get to Springfield around 12:35. Then they're going north, and they're going to get to Northampton around 12:40. Then they're going to turn south and get to Westfield around 12:45. These planes fly pretty quick. They don't say how many are doing it, but the map shows 4 of them. So around noontime, I'm going to go outside and look up and see what I see.
So, Joe, is Rhode Island going to get like a Piper J3 Cub flyover tomorrow? Is that the deal for Rhode Island?
No, a Cessna 172, Tim.
Little Cessna flyover.
Not even a 182. It's a 172.
We get drones to monitor social distancing.
Oh, John, move away. They'll have the speaker on it.
Maintain distance.
Knock it off.
So, in case you happen to be in Massachusetts today, and for whatever reason you see these F-15s up above flying very quickly, that's what they're doing. They're saluting the hospital workers for today. All right. So, I will be on the lookout for you. I'll be your eyes to the sky for this afternoon. All right.
Get your cell phone up.
So, those are the things I never think of, Tim.
Well, I just reminded you.
It's always after the fact. I should have taken a picture of that, or I should have taken a video of that. I'm sure that's never on the forefront of my mind. Now it will be. So right. I will try my best to get some video of it if they are in my area. Just to let you know, my house is in the landing pattern of the airport.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Sleep well, Joe. Sleep well.
Yeah.
Well, I've had people at the house. It's the airport is it's like North Central's airport, so there's no flying at night,
I see.
kind of thing. So, but I have had people over in the daytime, and the planes come right over the treetops as they're coming into the runway, and people saying, "Doesn't that bother you?" And I'm like, "What does what bother me?" Well, the low flying airplanes. I go, it's so often I don't even hear it anymore.
Right.
There are planes landing. Oh yeah, there's one.
But they're primarily small planes, aren't they? They primarily the small ones.
Small ones, the Cessnas, and slightly larger
Vipers
than that.
Yeah. Okay.
But most of the time when they're landing, it's not like they're revving up their engines racing somewhere. They've sort of got it idled down and they're half floating in, so you don't really get a loud noise. I've even noticed that at a friend's house down in Warwick, where when you're in the pattern for that day, even the big jets that fly over, they're sort of coasting in. They're not really burning up those engines, so you don't get a loud noise.
They're basically falling.
I'd rather be in the landing pattern than in the takeoff pattern.
Takeoff pattern, the pouring on the power,
Okay, and the other claim to fame for the Mansfield Airport, it is the home of the Massachusetts Medflight helicopters. So whenever there's
I didn't know
crash, they moved there about a year ago, and so if there's a crash that's needed, the helicopters take off from the airport here in Mansfield.
That'd be kind of centrally located. When consider they go mostly to Worcester, don't they? And Mass General and Brockton, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So we're kind of right in the middle in the closest airport, so that can house them. So that's cool. And blimps, when Patriots have games and the blimps fly over, they tie up over here as well.
That I've actually seen. I've seen from the highway.
Yeah. And those things they don't rest on the ground. They tie up by the nose on a very large pole, and they just float in the wind.
Yep.
All right. Well, enough about that. Okay, John, ready?
Yes.
Masks are mandatory starting Friday in Rhode Island.
And he just whipped out, if you're watching the video feed, he just whipped out. That looks like one of the ones that George made.
I've got my mask in hand.
Yeah.
In my pocket. I don't think it. I guess I put it at the top of the radio, but it would make it pretty hard to understand what I'm saying. Yes, I'll be carrying my mask with me everywhere I go, wearing it as little as possible, and only doing it when it looks like I'm about to encounter people.
I carry mine all the time. It's in the pocket.
Speaking of encountering people, the council just voted for the first time to allow restaurants to expand out onto sidewalks and parking lots.
How did you know he was going to ask you about that, John?
And the issue that struck me this morning, and I did post it up on Facebook as a hypothetical, because it's troubling to me. We extended the date. Councilman Kith, it was originally scheduled to end on September 30th. Councilman Kith has suggested we extend it out beyond Columbus Day weekend.
Right.
And we all agreed, and that makes perfectly good sense. Except the problem with that making sense is the problem with Autumn Fest. If you still need to be doing social distancing out to October 13th, then how in God's name are we ever going to pull off an Autumn Fest where people are shoulder to shoulder for a weekend? And it just makes me pause and wonder if this extends out for that long, that they mandate that kind of social distancing, what is the status of a festival like Autumn Fest and others around the state, but specifically in Woonsocket Autumn Fest?
They're moving forward with faith, John. You know that.
No, I have no doubt that they're moving forward with faith. I just wonder whether or not you could build in enough contingencies to adapt the environment to work.
We'll only know that as the months tick by. In the meantime, it takes so long to put it together. You better continue your work. Otherwise, you can't put it on.
in case they release you from this bondage that we're living under.
Bondage.
It really. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be for a while, but I'm a member of an organization that 3 weeks ago had to cancel a September event because we had, there was a hotel booked, but because of how it's a government officials thing, so we knew it would affect budgets. We knew people's schedules were changing. We knew hotels were canceling events. You couldn't do weddings. They're talking not doing big weddings out into August and even into the fall.
Right.
So with all of that, we had to cancel a September event. Right now, I would have been in New Orleans for a national conference. That's all of these things when you start looking at how they're impacting things
you're
far
better
out.
off not going to New Orleans right now, John.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not.
And I'm missing a May convention and an October convention just canceled.
And I guess that's the point. If an October convention is canceling, what are the chances of having
because that was a national
normal,
convention, people
a normal Autumn Fest event, which we probably will have some kind of accommodations be necessary, which is going to be an enormous undertaking trying to make that work. And good luck to them.
Absolutely.
As they try to do that.
Well, as a person that's on the Autumn Fest committee, John, you've made no
decision. You're doing Zoom meetings every day?
Well, our next meeting is coming up next week, and it'll be our first Zoom meeting as we try to figure it out. But it's a little too early right now to call things off.
Well,
you never know what's going to happen.
The governor's already said weddings over 50 people, even out into the fall. So taking that one little
promised
statement.
Not to have a wedding at Autumn Fest.
No,
Will
but
that satisfy the governor?
I doubt it. But if you take that one little thing as a hint,
I know.
The question becomes then how could you even conceive of something that would have thousands of people in one location at the same time? And that's going to be a difficult challenge. I wish you luck.
My kids were supposed to get married in June. They are still going to get married this year, but the wedding reception they were going to wait until December to do. But even the venue said, there's no yeses or nos at this point, even on December through the end of the year. So they actually decided to do the big reception next year. So they'll get married this year, they'll renew vows next year, and do the big party
and I suspect that will happen a lot this year.
I have a nephew who's doing the same thing. His wedding was originally planned for June the 3rd, and guess what? Now the wedding is going to be planned for November, and the reception is optional.
Well, I think many will simply do a wedding in any case and get it on video and then delay a reception as Tim just said, out into next year sometime. My only fear about next year is, come October, November, December, are we back into a cycle of second wave that they keep speaking of that would prevent something happening even next January, February,
Nobody
March?
knows. You just have to be brave.
No, I know that.
Just have to be brave.
But it's concerning.
Don't cancel life. Take things as it goes, and you can cancel something in a moment.
And but
it takes weeks and months to plan something. So
everybody tries to live life as normally as possible, but it's a
challenge.
It's a challenge. I mean, what kind of Mother's Day are mothers going to have, especially those who are have adult children with grandchildren?
Mine's going to have a lot of fun.
They're separated by distance, so that they can't be there with family members.
My mom's going to have 3 days of Mother's Day. We've figured it all out amongst all the 6 kids. She's going to have 3 days of Mother's Day, so we're taking turns calling and doing things with her, and she's. I am one of those guys that just always never gets to send a card. Well, let me tell you something. Yesterday, I mailed a card for Mother's Day to my mother. She is going to be flat on the floor, shocked that she got one from Dave.
That's great. But on in the other direction,
yes,
with an aunt in a nursing home, my godmother in a nursing home, with my children and grandchildren in Virginia, and even if your grandchildren and children are in Rhode Island, you're not getting the opportunities for the hugs, the sitting on the lap, the playing with, the little bit of playing catch out in the backyard or doing something with bicycles, and it's that closer contact that's going to be missed. And moms everywhere will have a not pleasant Mother's Day. In that regard,
find other things to
have
be
to find
pleasant
alternatives.
about,
Yes, no doubt about it.
Got to take a break here, and this segment of Coffee has been sponsored by the St. Antoine community. And Melissa Smith writes in to say that she has a quick mini update. Status remains unchanged at the St. Antoine community. The residents, the long-term care facility, has had a few additional cases and unfortunately has also experienced some losses as a result of COVID-19. So the mood is still heavy and weighted with stress, but optimistic and hopeful that we've contained cases to one unit and that it won't spread throughout the building. And at this time, the villa, the assisted living, is COVID-19 free and has 0 cases to report. So that's good news.
Very good.
More of the Coffee and program is coming your way. Comments and questions can be called in 766-1240.
I'm here with Kara Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency. What types of insurance do you provide?
If you come see me, Kara, I will help you review and protect the most important assets in your life. We offer protection for personal lines and business lines of insurance in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. My mother, Celeste, will help you plan for retirement and assist you with protecting your family by providing life insurance.
You're in good hands with Allstate and Kara and Celeste Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency, 125 Eddie Dowling Highway, across from Dowling Village in North Smithfield, 765-5000.
Our business is truly a referral business, and we have built it based on our premier service level and commitment to what we do. If you are looking for personalized service with people who care, that would be us.
This is Ed Carew of the Carew Investment Group, 765-8880, with some simple advice about investing. The truth is, there is no simple advice about investing. The old days of financial uptrends and downtrends, lasting for days, weeks, and months or longer, are gone. Sometimes trends last only part of a day before changing direction. Investing is not an activity for those who cannot take the time to study and see each twist and turn for the opportunity that it truly presents. Since 1987, I've seen them all, and I'll invest your money the same way I invest for myself. Carefully, very carefully. And it won't cost you a nickel to talk about it with me. So call me, Ed Carew, at 765-8880 right here in Woonsocket. Securities offered through Bolton Global Capital, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through Bolton Global Asset Management, a registered investment advisor.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
WOON, Woonsocket. Serving the Blackstone Valley with music,
news and sports for you all.
The radio voice of the Woonsocket call. WOON, Woonsocket.
It's Coffee In on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan.
You're entirely welcome, but do you still need me?
No, I don't, Dave.
Okay, thank you. Well, he thanked me for joining him, but if he doesn't need me, I can go take care of some office work.
Go take care of some office work.
You have capable assistants here.
I do.
Bye, Dave.
Bye.
I'll just push buttons randomly as he leaves.
There you go. There you go. Have some fun. Go nuts.
Yeah. The uncontrolled panel.
So the question, John, I have for you, in terms of the facial coverings in Rhode Island, now here in Mass, they actually start today, that we have to wear a mask of some point, inside or outside. But part of the deal is if you're wearing like a T-shirt, you can just pull the T-shirt up over your face. Yep, you're covered.
Yeah, except I'm not sure everyone wants to see a hairy belly, Joe.
Well, what do you know? Hey, you gotta go. You have to think. You have to live.
But I actually thought the very same thing one day because I was in my wife's car going to get gas, and I had to walk into the store. And as I was about to, I realized, I don't have my mask from my car. Yeah. Of course, being that I live with my wife, I realized, she's got a mask in the car. So I just used her mask, and, we wash them fairly regularly. So it wasn't a problem. But it occurred to me, gee, I guess I could just pull my shirt up over my face and walk in that way. And I guess that would be legal.
And that would be the time you would want your camera, Joe.
And, yeah.
You're right, Tim.
Certainly at that point, nobody would have been looking at my face.
No.
It's sort of like I had asked the council president and Mr. O'Connell, our IT director, about could we, there was a push to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we instead had it recited. But I had asked that, it's not the kind of thing where you want to leave all the cameras on, because when everybody stands up, as I said last week, you're sort of looking at whatever. So they just put a flag on the screen during the Pledge of Allegiance, and sort of took over the screen with an American flag, so nobody had to see what anybody was doing while that was being recited, which is a good thing.
That's a good idea. All right, so you can do that in Rhode Island. You can pull your shirt up over your nose.
I would think so. You can anything that will. The point of it, as Governor Cuomo said yesterday, the point of it is not about protecting you from other people, but protecting other people from you. So it's an inside-out thing. So if anything that will prevent anything that comes out of your mouth or nose from reaching other people is what the goal is. So if it happens to be a T-shirt pulled up over your nose, there you go. You've accomplished the task temporarily. But it's better to just have a mask in your pocket.
Now, in terms of outside dining in Woonsocket, it's the ordinance has got to pass for a second time. It probably will.
Yes.
Okay. And so you can start on May 29th. Now, what if something has happened and the governor does not ease the restrictions in the state about dining?
I think in the whereas this is all premised upon the governor easing restrictions. We don't have unilateral authority to grant the ability to open the restaurants without the governor first going into the stage 1 reopening procedures that are called for certain types of distances required, as was in today's journal and other papers, to show what kind of spacing is necessary in order to operate. So that, the premise of all of this is that the governor relieves the restrictions on dining.
Okay.
Hey, John, if the restaurant's on a sidewalk that is not a very wide sidewalk, can they open up with tables on the sidewalk in front of their business?
I think the premise is that you can occupy a portion of the sidewalk.
Okay.
And the thing is that the specifications would require, too, that anything that's put out on the sidewalk at the end of the business day would have to come in off the sidewalk. so that the sidewalk's not impeded. And I know the mayor was on speaking elsewhere, talking about for Yield English and Christopher's and River Falls. She mentioned possibly making some accommodations within the parking lot, although I don't know how Christopher's would do that, because they'd have to have every time you serve food crossing the street.
Can they open the rooftop deck over there?
Pardon me?
The Christopher's? Can they open the rooftop deck, and does that count?
I would think so, but it's a fairly small deck. It's not a large
I think there's
space.
3 tables there. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that corner is going to work. I mean, I could see how Yield English, if you broke off a piece of the parking lot, and they have a parking lot behind them that they actually own, so they have plenty of room to put tables outside. River Falls has the public parking spaces in front of themselves that could be used if the city would allow it. Use that for tables that could work, but Christopher's I get concerned with, because I'm not sure there's anything you could do to accommodate them without having, as I said, the staff having to cross the street. And there's really no efficient way or safe way or reasonable way to actually close off a section of the street to accommodate them. So there will be challenges.
It's a business-to-business decision, and it's the business owner's decision at some point, right?
Yes, it is. It is, but you don't. We're setting up systems that favor some over others because of circumstance that are outside of the control of the city necessarily. So you do the best you can, but I don't know that we'll be able to accommodate everyone.
Well, that's what I was thinking, John, because there's Black Sports Bar and Grill on Menden Road.
On Menden Road, right.
Which basically has no sidewalk.
Correct. And, they have a small section of sidewalk right in front of the restaurant, and their parking area is across the street. But if you use the parking area for serving, then you have no parking area.
Right. You can't park on the road.
So, yeah, that's exactly the kind of challenge that will be difficult to address and deal with.
The other questions, these came up yesterday, and we tried answering them yesterday, but we'll get your take on it as well. If you can serve food outside your establishment, is alcohol okay to be served like on the sidewalk?
Yes, but the restaurant, as is specified in the ordinance, the restaurant will have to come to the Board of License Commissioners, that is the City Council, to request an extension of their license to extend outside of the building. They can do that now for special events. It would just be a matter of requesting the same consideration for the duration of this special time.
The other question was, if you're on the city's sidewalk dining and an accident occurs where a car hits people, who's in trouble? Is it the city or is it the establishment?
That's a fair question. And you know what? That's a question best left to an insurance company to deal with. What you don't want to do is prevent something from happening because you're not sure. And in any case, even if an accident did occur, whoever's going to be suing will be suing everybody anyway. So you leave that for the courts to work out in the insurance companies. Basically, I mean, there are several things like. Sidewalks generally are the responsibility of the property owner abutting that sidewalk. When it comes to controlling ice and snow, it's the property owner's job in local ordinance. If you can put signs out in front of a building on the sidewalk within limitations, so there's a variety of things that property owners can do on the sidewalks in front of their business. I would think there would be some liability on both sides. But again, I would say you don't want to not do something out of fear. You do it, and then you let the insurance companies work out anything that has to be worked out if there is a problem.
What about, John, if a restaurant wants to put up, let's say, a fence? And I don't mean a chain link fence. I mean something rather sturdy and something like what you see at the police station.
Well, I mean like a not permanent fixture. I'm thinking like you see some of these up on Newbury Street in Boston, where they'll have these fenced-in areas on the sidewalk. Of course, they have 12-foot wide sidewalks, but they're not permanent fences. They're fences that can be taken down. And I would think if someone wants to create some sort of barrier, if there's a wide enough sidewalk. I mean, let's face it, the only street that's got a wider than normal sidewalk is Main Street, and even that's not that wide. Mm-hmm. So it would be, but if they have an area in their parking lot that they're going to extend into, you may see them get temporary fencing so that you would clearly delineate the area that is the restaurants versus anything where people are publicly walking through, or in order to make it clear to cars where they can and can't go in the parking area.
Okay. The first restaurant I thought of that this would really help, and there are others, but this is the first one I thought of, is Applebee's on Diamond Hill Road. And they just got tons of room in that parking lot.
Yeah, they could actually serve more customers than they could inside.
That's right.
For the size of that parking lot. But
if they had enough tables and chairs.
Yeah, there are a few places that are in parking lots like that. It's but each one will do what they can with what becomes available to them. And all we're doing is trying to find a way to accommodate as many people as possible in order to help the business recover. I know, listening to Dave LaHouse, he was speaking about taking his back parking lot outside the back door and setting up tables out in that parking lot, because people can still park across the street and then come across and then walk around to the back of the building to be seated outdoors there. So, people use their imagination and make accommodations as best they can, and we wish them the best of luck. But it's not a promise that we can make accommodations that can suit everybody.
Right. Okay, we're going to take another break here on the Coffee and program. It's time for a look at the forecast, which is being brought to you by Cars.com. Today will be a sunny day this morning. Looks like we have increasing clouds this afternoon. High temperature today near 59. Tonight, cloudy skies, rain likely before 9 p.m., low temperature around 37. Thursday, cloudy, partly sunny, but there is a chance of showers in the afternoon. High will be near 61. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low 41. Friday, partly sunny, high near 58. Saturday, there's a chance of rain and snow showers in the morning, changing over to rain showers in the afternoon with a high temperature on Saturday near 47. When's it going to get warm? It's May, right?
After the
last weekend.
I just looked at it. There's the spring equivalent of a polar vortex moving down over New England in the next few days, and it's going to be colder than normal for 3 or 4 or 5 days.
I want to shut the heat off in the house,
Well, we're getting air coming down from the
North Pole.
Yeah.
Blame Canada. They open the gate and let the cold air through.
They let the window open? No.
Yes.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, we have 41 degrees. Car shop from your couch with Cars.com. Connect with dealers to tour cars virtually, search great prices, and yes, cars are ready for home delivery. With over 4 million new and used cars, Cars.com has your match. More Coffee Ends coming up. Stay tuned.
People ask what PACE is. Well, PACE is a different kind of health plan. There's really nothing like it. Because PACE was created to give older people with health challenges the care and support they need to keep living at home. If you have a parent who wants to remain independent and live at home, but needs help to do so, call 401-654-4176 or visit pace-ri.org and see what a difference PACE can make in both of your lives.
Mother's Day is going to be different this year. No large gatherings. However, you can still celebrate Mom with a catered meal from Savini's Pomodoro. Each meal can serve up to 5 adults. They have family-style chicken with salad, rolls, ziti, fries, and roasted potatoes for $59.99. Or baked ham dinner with salad rolls and a choice of 2 sides for $69.99. How about stuffed pork loin with salad rolls and a choice of 2 sides for $69.99? And sirloin steak tips with salad rolls and a choice of 2 sides, $89.99. Savini's Pomodoro is also offering their full menu too. But if you want one of these catered meals, then you need to call by the end of the day on Thursday so you can pick it up on Sunday, Mother's Day, between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Call 401-762-5114. 401-762-5114. Savini's Pomodoro on Rathbun Street, Woonsocket. Order your catered Mother's Day meal by the end of Thursday for pickup on Sunday. 401-762-5114. Savini's Pomodoro for Mother's Day.
There's a new feature at valleybreeze.com that will make it easier to find the business or deal you're looking for, as well as share their ads with family and friends. Head to valleybreeze.com. At the right, find This Week's Ads. Click it and you'll see all the ads that were in the Breeze's 5 newspapers. Maybe you've finished with your paper or are recalling an ad you noticed a few days ago. Just use the search function and the ad is right there, ready to be printed or shared. Merchants, share your ads on social media. The Valley Breeze. Our mission is your success.
And it's Coffee In on ON, AM, and FM. This is Joe Callahan here with John Ward and Tim Draper from Navigant Credit Union. Tim, time for your first message from Navigant.
Thank you, Joe. So, folks, it's the spring. I know we were just talking about the temperature, but it is still the spring, and neighborhoods are starting to look good, and people are starting to go outside and take assessment of their homes and decide that maybe it's time to do some cleanup, time to do some additions, make their house look pretty good. So we just want to remind everybody that you can come to Navigant Credit Union, and we have a full line of home equity products. If you find yourself in that position that you'd like to, make some modifications, home equity lines of credit, competitively priced, and the home equity loans. Depends on whatever fits your current financial need. But it's a very simple process. You can either apply online at navigantcu.org. You go to the lending center, and then you go to equity lines and loans. And you can fill an application. The process is started right there online. You don't even have to come into a branch. Everything is handled through DocuSign at this point, and then, we'll fund your account for you, so the money will be there when you need it. But Navigant Credit Union, we're happy to serve, been serving for over 105 years, and we'll continue to do so even through this pandemic. Thank you for your business. NCU Navigant Credit Union is happy to be part of your financial journey.
All right, Tim, I want you to toot your own horn right now, because I saw the story about the Cumberland branch raised some money to buy lunch for the people at Mount St. Rita.
Those opportunities have popped up, and we try to jump on them when we can. That was actually it was something that we were doing with the Northern Rhode Island Board of Realtors in general, and then their event got canceled, so they gave us the money back. We didn't really want to take the money back. They didn't have any need for it at the time, so one of the partners in their residential properties had an idea that we could buy some lunch for a couple of nursing centers in town. And we said, yeah, that's great. Let's take the money and use it for that. That's a good idea. And so Ross Silva and Dave DiCavellis from our mortgage lending team got together with the folks at the residential properties, Ryan Antrop and his crew over there, and they bought 100 meals, and they went out and they delivered. So good for them. It was an idea that they really championed, and we were all certainly right behind it.
Yeah, so congratulations, and I'm sure they loved getting the food from you guys.
Yeah, I actually did something last night for the Cumberland Lincoln Rotary Club as part of our outreach, and delivered some food to the rescues in town. And they were very grateful for the dinner that we brought them. And Adelaide's and Cumberland was real nice to provide those for us, I think, in a special deal. So I delivered the food and 2 rolls of toilet paper to the guys on staff there at the Cumberland Rescue.
Out of your own personal...
Good things are happening, Joe.
Out of
out of my own personal stash. I was thinking about swiping the toilet paper, actually. But no, you know what? There's a lot of these stories out there. Navigant is certainly does not hold this type of activity by itself. There's a lot of companies out there doing a lot of great things for first responders, for people who have put themselves really right there on the front lines, for this in this pandemic environment, and they're putting their health at risk. And we certainly appreciate that and want to do whatever we can to help them out. So if wearing masks and delivering food is what we have to do, then that's what we do.
All right. We have a couple of messages to get to that have been written into me, Joe at OneSocketradio.com. This one was written in yesterday, but they wanted to follow up with you guys and see what you thought. So what's written here, printed in the Providence Journal back on May 1st. In California, a couple of immunology doctors now have over 2 months of data and have concluded that the mortality rate is very similar to the seasonal flu. Furthermore, every day in Rhode Island, statistically, 27 people die from a variety of causes. That works out to about 9,000 people a year. This is before COVID-19. So at the end of the day, that number will probably not change a lot. So A follow-up to that is, haven't we extremely overreacted with this lockdown affecting the economy of this country? It has caused chaos and confusion throughout the country. Tempers are flaring and violence is breaking out. Look what happened in Michigan, where someone went to the dollar store in Michigan and they were refused entry because they weren't wearing a mask. So they left and came back and shot the security guard and killed him. Is this...
Well, that proves you can't cure stupid.
Well, that's what we said. You can't fix.
There is no cure. There's no vaccine. There's no immunization.
Even hydrochloroquine won't take care of it.
That's right.
When I know I can pronounce that correctly, John. Thank you for that. But back to the...
I've been practicing for weeks.
Have we, meaning the country, overreacted to this lockdown? It's a personal opinion.
I think the reaction is appropriate, but it was at the outset misdirected because I think too little was known, and for that I like so many other people are coming to recognize, you have to blame China for not releasing information quickly enough. But it's appropriate in the sense that I wish the focus had been where the elderly are and people who are have compromised immune systems and issues, because this one is particularly aggressive when it comes to the elderly. The flu in general affects many people, and many people die who are old because they're in many cases they have conditions that are going to take them soon. But and this one does the same thing, but it's doing it at a much higher ratio among that limited population. Also, for the people that get it, it is much more severe for those who have the reaction. Like when you get the flu and you get the fever and you have congestion and a cough and body aches and muscle aches, that's one thing. It puts you to bed for a day or two, and you recover, you get up, you go back to work, and you feel fine. This one can knock you down for 7 days, 10 days.
3 weeks?
And multiple weeks, and it makes you feel like you're dying. You struggle to breathe in some cases. Your fever can spike up to 104. That's a dangerous condition. That's more than just the flu. And it lasts longer, and it changes you. And, of course, I think ultimately they will discover that there's probably some level of permanent damage to your lungs as a result of it. So it's not just something where your immune systems trigger antibodies that clear you out. This puts your immune system into hyperdrive, and it just does damage to you. So I don't think it's an inappropriate reaction. I just want them to figure out a way to let people get back to work. Yeah. Because if you save the most people you can and kill your country, I don't know that you've necessarily made the right choice. But it's a difficult balance to figure it out. What I'm particularly intrigued by, though, is the vast difference in reported cases and the outcomes between New York and California, specifically Los Angeles and San Francisco, but more so Los Angeles, where you have a similar population in terms of size, and Houston for that matter, and yet the outcomes and the numbers are so vastly different that there's something else going on, and I don't know if it has to do with the reaction of Mayor de Blasio and the health director in New York City up through the middle of March saying, oh, everything's fine, go on outside and enjoy your life and get on the subway. And it could actually be the fact that you've got a subway system in New York that you don't have in Los Angeles. So even that small amount of physical separation, because people drive everywhere and they don't do it together for the most part, where New York principal mode of transportation is subways, that could be the big difference in the proximity issue. But I wouldn't say it was an overreaction. This is a completely unknown, and it's dangerous, and it's hurting people.
New York City closed down their subways last night, early this morning, and they cleaned them from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah, but it's not the cleaning it that does it. It's the people then walking into it.
Yeah.
That are breathing all over each other. That's why I brought up the question of Autumn Fest earlier. It's like, how do you control an event that's going to have people, literally, you've been there, Joe, and many thousands of people go there, and you are literally shoulder to shoulder with everybody. And then you hold a parade where everybody is shoulder to shoulder.
That's right.
And that's the kind of condition, with everybody speaking of a second wave coming next flu season. It's very uncomfortable to think about how this is going to have a 2-year impact with a 10-year effect. And I thought we were over it after 2010, but it looks like we're going to go through another cycle of a decade of recovery. And I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but, you know, when the economy crashed back in 2008, I literally sat in a room with some union members, and I said, folks, I don't know what you're anticipating, but we are, in my opinion, we're looking at a 10-year recovery. And sure enough, it took about 10 years to recover from that. And I don't, based on this, there's nothing that tells me that this is going to be a rapid recovery. This is going to be a slow slog getting the economy moving again. And the world economy more so than the United States economy.
Tim, any thought on if this is an overreaction?
You know, I agree with John pretty much entirely. For me, it seemed like it was a no-win situation. You know, every decision that you make, somebody's not going to be happy with. But I think the reason you have to make them, and the reason it was such a no-win situation, is the level of unknown. Yes, it's a flu-like. Yes, lots of people will recover from it, and it'll be just like the flu for those folks. But it was that initial wave where everybody just seemed to catch it. If you were anywhere near somebody that had it, you were going to come down with some version of it. And it was the rapid nature of the transmission of this thing that I think freaked everybody out, and that's why you had the reaction of just shut it down. It was the only thing you could really do to try and get a handle on stopping the spread so that you could have some time to study it and see what happens. I will say that I'm very happy listening to Dr. Finale and Dr. Babineau from the hospital system in Rhode Island say that they feel very comfortable at this point in time that they have a handle on capacity and the virus in terms of what the symptoms are, what the treatments are, what to be looking for, how it's going to affect people. Now I think there's been enough time for them to get a handle on that stuff so that when people do go into the hospital, they get the right therapies. Because not always going on a ventilator, I'm hearing, is the right therapy. So when you can't breathe, it may not necessarily be that you're not getting enough oxygen. It's got something to do with clotting the blood vessels in your lungs so that the oxygen isn't getting to the blood. So they're putting you on blood thinners. So that's a treatment that they didn't know at the beginning. They just said, "Oh, put them on a ventilator." That's why we went crazy trying to find ventilators. But now that time's passed, we realize, hey, you know what? We don't maybe we don't need quite as many because this is the way you really have to treat this thing. So I think that the reaction at the beginning was appropriate. I realize it was as unpleasant as it was. Definitely appropriate. Now, though, to John's point, I think we really need to find a way to get back to some sort of a new abnormal for the time being. And I think everybody just has to get their arms wrapped around that it's probably going to be a year before there's a treatment, vaccine, cure, whatever you want to call it, that people would feel safe enough to start going into these environments where there are large crowds of people.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. We do have to take another break here on the Coffee and program. We have another message to get to when we come back. So, Tim, time for a second message from Navigant Credit Union.
Joe, this week is actually National Teacher Appreciation Week. So, as we try to do with our internal staff and thanking them for the hard work that they have, and we just thanked the public safety workers in our last segment, let's thank the teachers out there who are doing some incredible work. Number one, changing the way they have to do things from an in-class environment, and I've taught on an in-class environment, and it's a total different environment than what has to happen now virtually. But they're doing a great job. I've seen, I watch my wife every day do her thing over the Zoom and to her students, and I'm forever impressed with the level of effort that these folks are putting into it. And I know that the teachers amongst themselves have video calls to talk about what's the best practice and what's not, how they're doing it, what kids need additional help. And I just my hat's off to those folks on National Teacher Appreciation Week. And Navigant Credit Union is so happy that we have a lot of folks in our membership that are teachers and educators, and we wish them a lot of luck through the end of the year. and of course we support them in any way we possibly can. So that's my message from Navigant's second spot here, and you can visit us at navigantcu.org and learn about all the great products and services we have, or you can give us a call, 233-4700, although I will tell you that we have a lot of calls coming in right now, so just bear with us.
Very good, Tim. Okay, more Coffee Ann is coming up. Please stay tuned.
Judy Boschman, the owner of Missy's Family Restaurant on Clinton Street, Woonsocket, has decided to take an extended vacation. She has made this decision since we are not allowed to sit down and enjoy Missy's Family Restaurant fantastic breakfast and lunch and dinner specials. Judy recommends that her customers go to Barbara's Place on North Main Street in Woonsocket and have takeout from them as they recover from their house fire. Missy's Family Restaurant, 801 Clinton Street, Woonsocket, will reopen soon.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Rhode Island Army National Guard. Aired by the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association and this station.
Do you remember the 20th century? If you do, you should be listening to Do You Remember? Weekday mornings on ON Radio. Hi everyone, this is John W. And you know what they say? If you don't use it, you lose it. So share your memories with me and your friends Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. That's the Do You Remember program right here and only on ON, AM, and FM radio.
Thanks, John. And Do You Remember comes up at 9:30 this morning here on ON Radio. It's Coffee Ann right now. This is Joe Callahan here with John Ward and Tim Draper. And Tim, I got a little story for you.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I guess you should be glad you don't have a branch in Walker, Louisiana. Okay?
I have some friends that have branches down there. But
Okay. Well, police in Walker, Louisiana are looking for an aggressive chicken that is targeting bank customers. The police responded to a call last Friday saying the bird was harassing customers at a local bank drive-thru. And when the police arrived at the scene, the bird escaped. The chicken is described as a reddish tan, 8-inch tall chicken. People are asking people not to confront the bird, but to instead call for help. So it's I don't know if its nest is near the drive-thru for this financial institution or what, but you haven't had any aggressive chickens at the drive-thru, have you?
We have not had any aggressive chickens at the drive-thru, Joe. I can confidently say that. That would have been something that I would have heard about. But, hey, anything can happen. These are crazy times.
That's right. Maybe to be an aggressive crow. Hey, you never know.
Could be.
All right. It's too bad Melissa couldn't make it today because I would love her take on this, but we'll get it from you guys. This came in from another writer who wrote this into me, Joe at OneSocketRadio.com. He said, how about this one? He said, meaning me, was walking on the sidewalk yesterday wearing a mask. A woman is approaching him, also wearing a mask. And they get about 30 feet or so from each other, and as they get closer, she shifts into the street and says to the writer as they're passing each other, it's supposed to be the guys who should go into the street, not me. And he just said with a laugh, what? So
chivalry is dead.
I've encountered this before, and I've always gone by the rule, and it doesn't go by gender. But if you're walking on the sidewalk and someone's coming at you, and you want to keep your 6-foot distance, if the street is on your right, then you should step into the street instead of stepping onto someone's lawn. I'm assuming there's a lawn on the other side.
You're correct. You're correct, Joe, because anybody that walks in the street should be facing oncoming traffic.
That's right. That's the other reason for that. So it's not a gender issue. It's just now it doesn't always happen, and I've made concessions to that because I was coming in contact with a woman pushing a baby carriage. Well, I'm not going to make her lift the carriage and do all that. So okay, in that case, I stepped into the street, even though the street was to my left. But if it's just the two of you, if the street's on your right, you step into the street. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Thoughts on that?
Agree.
Agree? Okay. Tim?
Yeah. Yep.
You're
John,
okay with that?
John said.
Unless you're in front of somebody's lawn, in which case you step into their lawn.
And wreck the grass.
I mean, it's going to be a
Oh,
problem.
I don't think you're going to
problem.
wreck the grass by walking on the lawn temporarily.
No, you shouldn't, but okay.
If it's at my house, feel free to walk on the lawn.
Well, I just had my front lawn replaced, so don't walk on my lawn.
That's
I'm going to be
because-
that old guy that stands out there on the steps.
We don't have sidewalks on my street, so you're walking in the street in any case.
All right, John, we wanted to bring this up.
Please
you
do.
know, St. Charles Borromeo Church is not going to close. They're going to merge and with All Saints. But some people are not happy with that.
Well, that's because the principal church is going to be All Saints, and St. Charles will be used as a secondary location for alternative, occasional functions.
Okay, but isn't this a good compromise? You're not losing the church.
I think there's a couple of parts to this. One is the secondary treatment of the location. The second one has to do with all of the assets of St. Charles reverting to control of All Saints, so that All Saints becomes a controlling parish. And I think the people who were members of St. Charles may have some objection to you losing some of that control, especially since it was a fairly cash-rich parish. So I understand their concerns, but I'm not sure that they're going to have a beneficial way out of it. I don't know why it is that the church tends to walk away from the older churches and leave standing the more modern buildings, although they're more modern.
Money?
Probably.
I guess it's the cost of maintaining them.
Yeah.
Because I know, between Holy Family, Sacred Heart, and Our Lady Queen of Martyrs, we ended up using the church at Our Lady Queen of Martyrs to become Holy Trinity, and now St. Anne's and St. Agatha's became All Saints. Now they're going to embrace St. Charles into that, and so basically every older church in the city is, I'm trying to think, I think they're all, well, except for Precious Blood and St. Agatha's, which is a merger yet to come. Every other older church is out of commission. An interesting problem. It does lead to an interesting question, though, because one of the things you'll notice about the announcement is that they're going to maintain use of St. Charles, and I think that's an intentional thing by the diocese, because they got burned by our tax assessor, because when they closed Sacred Heart and they put it on the market for sale, the tax assessor made a determination all by herself that it was no longer being utilized for its church purpose and therefore was taxable. So she, without communicating with them, just sent them a bill.
Surprise.
So when they closed Holy Family, they made sure that there was still some consideration left available for it to remain partially in use. Mm-hmm. And I think the same thing is going to happen with St. Charles, is that rather than just abandon it, I think the idea of merging the two and leaving it as an optional use takes away from the ability of an aggressive tax assessor making a declaration, although we did have to write an ordinance to protect churches from an aggressive tax assessor by requiring the council approve anybody that's going from a non-taxable status to taxable, that there's going to be communication requirements and council approvals before that's done to somebody without notice, like was 2 years ago or last year. But that's still an ongoing fight, because they still have an outstanding bill for Sacred Heart. So back to the issue at hand, I think St. Charles is surviving because of a tax consideration by the diocese, as well as trying to find a way to accommodate everybody's wishes, but they're finding some opposition at St. Charles. I don't think there's a way to get around it. Usually when they make these decisions, they're already made and they're not about to change. So I think the people at St. Charles will necessarily have to embrace All Saints as their parish or find another church to attend, but it's probably a done deal at this point.
Okay. Getting back to the point, talking about being shoulder to shoulder at Autumn Fest, this coming, or at every Autumn Fest. And I saw you post that, John, and someone else put a little comment on there, and they said, well, maybe we can restrict the number of people coming to Autumn Fest. And I looked at that and I said, that's just 100% impossible.
How do you do that?
Yeah. You're not going to put a fence around the whole park, so...
That's right. And I counted, and maybe I'm wrong, there's 3 main entrances.
Yes.
And then there's 100 other little entrances.
Absolutely.
All around that park to get in. I said that you'd have to, not a fence, if you put every Woonsocket police officer 6 feet apart, you still couldn't stop everybody from coming.
Physically impossible. Just not possible. And as I indicated in my post, I was saying it as someone who is concerned for the fact that event, under the present circumstances with the way things are unfolding, is at risk of cancellation. Not that I'm encouraging it, but I fear what may come of it. And Autumn Fest as an organization is not a wealthy organization, so to lose a year is not a good thing. But sometimes, and I wasn't alive back when the influenza pandemic occurred back in 1917-18, but I would think a lot of things didn't happen because of that, and they didn't happen for a couple of years, and it was traumatic. And I think, for the most part, people forgot about it within 10 years.
Sure.
But I'm sure it affected how they approached life for several years after that, and major events that didn't take place until they were certain that the risk was gone. And then I would imagine the first couple of celebrations right after that were probably something memorable because they were so happy to be unrestricted. But it's a risky situation.
Every day I check the news now, and just to see, okay, what else has been canceled. And I haven't got the news yet for today, but yesterday, the New England Gulls, it's a baseball team that play down in Newport. They're like the Cape Cod League for college baseball players. Their whole season just got canceled. And the Wickford Art Festival, which takes place in mid-July.
Mid-July, right.
That got canceled.
And then Situate would be coming up in October. Pawtucket has events, Oktoberfest.
Yep.
All the festivals in Pawtucket.
Which leads to the Pawtucket Red Sox question. Yet to be fully decided, I guess, at this point.
Hasn't been decided.
I've been talking to Mike Gwynn a couple of times now since this has all gone on, and they're thinking about doing some fireworks, just as fireworks displays, actually, which would be fun, I think, for the community. Go look at them from your car.
Yeah, don't come to the park. Just look out your window, kind of thing, or
it would be park in the parking lot in your car, watch the fireworks. That type of environment. But they did it. I guess they did it somewhere else in the country. One of the other minor league teams did it, and it was a pretty big success for the community. So who knows?
Would the governor allow that?
I don't know.
Well, there's a question.
That's probably what they're trying to find out.
Well, there's.
I mean, she did talk about canceling fireworks displays for the 4th of July. So
did she?
That was mentioned earlier because
allow that.
Well, I mean, only because I think she was thinking in terms of crowds coming to a city park to watch a fireworks display, not necessarily people doing it out of their cars at remote locations. I think it's not something you could prevent as long as you're not encouraging people to come to a central location to watch it.
Well, wouldn't you be doing that at McCoy Stadium?
If you told them they had to stay in their cars and you made them stay in their cars.
Okay.
As a matter of fact,
you could probably get away with it.
I forgot which community. Is it North Smithfield that's now planning a graduation ceremony in cars?
Yeah, North Smithfield. Yeah.
And I'm wondering how they're but I'm wondering what they're planning in terms of. They're not handing out diplomas as you drive through, I hope.
No, they'll probably mail them.
I don't think so.
Well, you have to mail things. They'll just do a ceremony, maybe flash pictures of all the graduates up on a giant screen or something.
Maybe.
That's what I think they're going to do. I think that's how they're going to do it, actually.
Have video speeches that are done remotely.
Yeah.
And pushed up on a screen. Hey, whatever they can do that'll make it something rather than nothing is great.
Yep.
All right. We've come to the end of the program. We thank you very much for listening in.